Greetings and salutations, everyone, and welcome back to today's bonus upload. Before we get into it, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon and PayPal are in the description below. The merch is displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, the links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It doesn't cost a cent. Click that like button. It takes half a second. If you don't want to miss any of the informative and exciting uploads I put out twice daily, click that bell icon. And finally, last but definitely not least, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all these things, they really do help this channel to continue to grow and go. And guys, they really do matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's get on with tonight's bonus, shall we? Today's first part of the upload. The rock apes of Vietnam. It's not entirely uncommon for soldiers returning from war to come home with stories of seeing monsters. Throughout history, plenty of wartime monster sightings have been reported. However, one sighting in particular, or more accurately, multiple sightings, seem to have been more documented than most. This is the case of the rock apes of Vietnam. Rock ape is a name given to the creatures allegedly spotted by multiple American soldiers during the Vietnam War. However, even prior to the war, stories floated around of jungle people. These jungle people were bipedal and ape-like, stood about 6 feet tall. They were stoutly built and very muscular, but had protruding stomachs. Like many unknown ape creatures, they were covered in hair, either brown or black, with the exception of their knees, their soles of their feet, and their hands, and their faces, which were all hairless. The jungle people tended to live in a more isolated, remote area of the jungle, keeping to themselves. However, if a human made the unfortunate mistake of crossing their path, they would become bold and aggressive, and would not have any hesitation in attacking the unlucky intruder. The jungle people were at their most active at dusk or during the night, and if they traveled, they would do so in packs. This fact would explain some aspects of the sightings later reported by the American soldiers. The most prominent accounts of the rock apes were published in Craig P.J. Jorgensen's book, Very Crazy, G.I. Strange But True Stories of the Vietnam War. One such story from his book tells the account of a unit of 6 men from the 101st Airborne Division. This particular unit was taking a rest when the trees about 15 yards uphill from them suddenly began to shake violently. Naturally, given their environment, the soldiers assumed the shaking was caused by the enemy, and that they needed to immediately prepare to be under attack. However, as the soldiers watched the trees, they saw that an oblong head with a face covered in reddish hair and possessing a huge mouth and dark, deep-set eyes had emerged from the brush. According to Brent Swancer, in his article, The Mysterious Rock Apes of the Vietnam War. When this bizarre creature fully emerged, the soldiers were able to get a better look, and they saw that it was about 5 feet tall and very muscular and covered in matted reddish hair. The creature stood on 2 legs and examined the soldiers just as they examined it. As the soldiers argued over whether or not the creature may be an orangutan, it retreated back into the jungle. Another incident occurred in 1966 in the location known as Hill 868 in Quang Nam Province, the home of several rock ape sightings throughout the war. In this account, a Marine unit was reporting to their captain that they had spotted movement in the brush, which they assumed was being caused by the Viet Cong. The captain told his unit over the radio not to fire. Not long after, the unit reported back that rather than the Viet Cong, they were being surrounded by hairy, bipedal humanoid creatures. The captain told the unit that rather than firing on the creatures, they should instead throw rocks. However, this backfired as the creatures began throwing the rocks back at them. At this point, the Marines guessed there were hundreds of these creatures. Far too overwhelming in any amount to stick with their current plan. The Marines were told to change tactics and use their bayonets to fight the creatures. Soon after the order was given, the captain heard over the radio what sounded to him like an epic battle. Afterwards, men were sent out to investigate. The location was covered with injured but not dead Marines, as might be expected, but also allegedly the bodies of several rock apes. This became known as the Battle of Dogman, though the only evidence of the event and the dead rock ape bodies littered the battlefield seems to be eyewitness accounts, as with most alleged cryptid sightings. Yet another account comes from an unnamed GI. This man gives the description of the rock ape he encountered, which, like the other accounts, was recorded in Jorgensen's book. The GI said an oblong head framed the hair-covered face. Dark, deep-set eyes lie beneath a prominent brow, and they did nothing to complement the heavy jowls and angry mouth. A little evidence. In 1970, Dr. John McCannon claimed he had found tracks that had been identified by the locals as coming from the Batuat, an entity in Vietnamese folklore resembling the rock apes. The tracks had human-looking toes, but being around the size of those of the Asiatic black bear, which is not native to Vietnam. In 1974, Professor Vo Quai of the Vietnam National University led a North Vietnamese scientific expedition. The expedition found prints that were described as wider than a human print, but too large to be that of an ape. Some theories. What makes the recorded sightings of the rock apes unique is that these accounts are genuinely published in books about the Vietnam conflict that feature veterans recounting their experiences, and not in books that focus on cryptozoology. Perhaps this is why most rock ape theories consider natural explanations rather than cryptozoological ones. One of the most common theories is that the soldiers actually saw Tonkin, snub-nosed monkeys. However, these monkeys do not come near to fitting the descriptions given by the witnesses. Other suggestions for misidentified animals are the Barbary macaques, gibbons, or giant orangutans. Of course, given the mysteriousness of the creatures sighted, more unusual explanations have been given. Some have suggested the rock apes could be a surviving population of hominids or early ancestors of the humans, or even a surviving population of Gigantopithecus. Others have suggested they are an undiscovered species of primate. And finally, given the time and place in which the sightings happened, it's probably not surprising that some have speculated the soldiers who experienced the encounters might have been under the influence of LSD at the time. So what are the rock apes of Vietnam? We'll probably never know for sure. For now, much like with Bigfoot or other bipedal ape-like cryptids, all we really have to go on is the accounts of the returning soldiers and a handful of footprint casts. Today's second encounter is a terrifying Dogman encounter. Jay, who had a harrowing encounter with an upright canine when he was 15 years old while growing up in Delta County in west central Colorado. He had resisted talking about this incident until he had heard of recent upright canine encounters told to him by friends and associates in his current residence of Fayetteville, Arkansas. Jay states that when he was a teen, he and his friends would hang out at the Gunson River, not far from the confluence with the Uncompahgre River from his hometown in Delta, Colorado. One late night in the mid-90s, at approximately 12:30, Jay had arranged to meet a friend at their preferred spot along the Gunnison River. They had a routine of exploring an old abandoned factory that still had lights working around it. The lights would illuminate the river and shoreline. The river at this location was fairly shallow during the summer and could be easily crossed. While waiting for his friend, Jay decided to kill some time. There was an auto parts lot, junkyard, still there, near the location that interested Jay. He has always been fascinated with automobiles and is currently an auto mechanic. He knew the man who owned the lot, which was guarded by a German shepherd that was pretty friendly with Jay. Many times the dog would wander down by the river in order to greet and play with Jay. As Jay began to make his way towards the lot, he had to pass a huge downed tree that laid along the river shore. The end of the downed tree had a huge bundle of exposed roots and debris from the river. As he walked by the tree, he noticed a pair of long ears visible from the other side on the top of the downed tree. Thinking it was the German shepherd coming to greet him, he started calling out to it. In fact, he tossed a few pebbles at it in order to get its attention. Then suddenly, an unimaginable creature stood up. The light from the abandoned factory gave Jay an uncomprehended view of this beast. He was witnessing a 7 to 8 foot tall humanoid with the head of a large wolf. The canine teeth were clearly visible, and its orangish yellow eyes looked directly at him. Jay said the eyes looked like distant lights coming from a tunnel. He was truly shocked at this sight. Jay then lets out a scream. The beast reacted by grabbing the exposed roots and leaping on top of the downed tree. Jay's description was that of a sparsely haired bipedal canine with wide muscular chest and human-like arms ending with human-like hands and long fingers with talons. The waist and hips were narrow with muscular hocked legs extending down to the long human-like feet. The beast was standing on the balls of its feet. Jay instinctively ran towards the river and quickly waded across to the chain-link fence. As Jay looked back, the creature was on all fours, watching him from the far shore of the river. The beast was watching Jay, but then directed his attention upriver. It suddenly took off running on all fours upriver at what Jay described as an incredible speed. Later, he was told by the man who owned the auto parts lot that he should never walk near the river at night. His comments were, "There are many things out there that we can't comprehend." He was also told by a shaman and an elder of his family tribe that Jay encountered a spirit of the forest, since it did not attack him. Alright guys, I hope you all enjoyed today's bonus as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. Just a quick little upload to get you through the day until tonight's second half, which I'm guaranteeing you will love. So with that, please everyone stay safe, happy, healthy. Thank you for all the support, and God bless everyone.